Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy. Brian Kelly and LSU were obviously there yesterday. We talked a little bit in the first hour about Garrett Nussmeier and kind of the things that Brian Kelly had to say about his first year starting quarterback. Harold Perkins very much not in his first year at LSU, moving into his third year and what you would categorize as his money year. It's very likely his final year here at LSU. His professional football is within his sights, but some things are going to change with Harold Perkins this year. We already know that. Before we get to exactly what those changes look like, I think it's best to kind of look at this from an entire defense perspective. When we talk about LSU football, we talk about a championship level because that's the expectation here. It would be foolish for us at Purdue to talk about championship level offenses and defenses. They're not going to field one. It would be foolish to talk about that at Oregon State because they don't have a conference to play in. It would be foolish for us to sit here and talk about that at Vandy because they can't. At LSU, you can play for any championship that is out there. And right now, LSU's offense appears to be at a championship level. The defense is not even close. It was atrocious last year. The question is, how quickly can you get it there? And Brian Kelly was asked a bunch of questions about his defense, and he answered one of them in the media room yesterday this way.
So the challenge this year for us going into the offseason was to make the kind of strides to bring our defense up to the standard necessary to play for a championship. And we feel like we've done that. Obviously, we've got a little bit more work to do with our preseason, and our opener will certainly test us when we open up against USC.
If you ask a bunch of LSU fans, they'll probably give you the reasons why LSU's defense should be really good this year. If you ask a bunch of folks outside the LSU bubble, they'd probably say, well, defense stunk last year. How much better could it really get? It's probably somewhere in the middle. That's kind of where I am. I don't expect it to be a championship-level defense. I don't expect it to look like it did last year. I don't have a great explanation for how things got so bad last year. I don't know if it's on recruiting. I don't know if it's on development. I don't know if it's on talent evaluation. I don't know if it's on coaching. I don't know if it's on execution, game plan. I don't know. I think it was probably all of it. And you caught the bad kind of lightning in a bottle, and it was as bad as it can get. I can't imagine in the next 15 seasons of me watching LSU football that it looks any worse on the defensive side. I cannot imagine that. It was a freaking track meet every time out there. Not just Florida State and Missouri and Ole Miss who had good seasons. LSU couldn't stop Arkansas in the second half last year. Arkansas. They fired their offensive coordinator 10 minutes into the season. LSU could not stop Texas A&M's fourth-string quarterback. It was a joke last year how bad they were. So you've got to fix it somehow. What's the best way to do that? Well, you got to feature some of your really good players. And they do have a couple of really good players on defense. Harold Perkins is chief among them, in my estimation. And Brian Kelly talked about last year and Harold Perkins and like, would he do that differently if he had it over? Beck?
We would have tied him down and made him eat more. We had an issue relative to his weight gain, and we didn't feel like, that it really was his best position to be inside. And I just felt like we were still in the developmental process with Harold. And, he's, like I said, you'll see him today. He's over 220 pounds. He's physically strong enough to handle the rigors of inside and out. But I just felt like we were needing to put him in the best position possible to succeed. And now where he's physically in a position and he's matured, he now is able to be in more than one position.
Maybe all of that is true. Maybe Harold Perkins didn't weigh enough to play on the inside last year. Maybe he didn't weigh enough because he didn't do the things he needed to do, or they didn't have the right nutrition plan. And maybe they determined that the best thing to do is to put him out there at the nickel a lot, and team schemed him out of there, and there's just not much we can do because he didn't weigh enough to play inside, so there's no versatility there. Like, maybe all that's true. I just don't accept it. I don't accept that in his first year, maybe. Maybe you've got a young pup who's got no idea what he's doing in college, has never been trained at inside linebacker. He's not technically there. He's not weight-wise there, but he's so talented. We got to play him. Here, go rush the passer. In year 2, he ought to weigh the right amount. In year 2, you ought to be able to play him anywhere you want to play him. In year 2, he should be a veteran. When you've got a 5-star recruit ticketed for the National Football League exactly 3 years from when he shows up, for his second year to be wasted, I use air quotes there because he still had statistically a pretty decent year, because of things like that, I don't accept. Put the weight on. Get him where he needs to play. I just, that's a frustrating thing to me. I don't know if it's LSU's fault. I don't know if it's Harold Perkins' fault. All I know is something didn't go right, and it was in the second year in the program. He's more than halfway done at LSU, and you still haven't gotten him to the point where he needs to be? Come on, man. That to me doesn't fly. He needs to be where he needs to be. And apparently, that's now available because he's put on the weight that's appropriate. So Brian Kelly spoke to Harold Perkins moving inside.
We know what he can do on the field. Yes, the football piece, he will have a role that is not as similar as what we've seen over the last couple of years. He's going to play inside. You're going to see him physically. He's over 220 pounds. He recognizes that the next step to the league, you can't play at 210 pounds or 212 pounds, and he recognizes that. So, his versatility is going to be important to what Blake does on defense, and Harold's 100% bought into that.
And I guess from the outside, again, this is me talking from the outside. I guess it took Harold Perkins buying into that entire notion to make it happen. And Brian Kelly seems to think that it has.
Well, look, a lot of this has to do with Harold. Harold had to make the decision that I'm going to take care of. You can't play inside linebacker at 210 pounds. Well, you say you can, but you can't because you just can't hold up inside. He now physically is able to play inside out and still is twitchy off the edge, can still cover if he needs to cover. He's made himself into the player that he needed to be, and it's going to be fun to watch him.
This is all new information. I don't recall a press conference last year where Brian Kelly said, look, Harold doesn't weigh enough. And it's kind of Harold's fault. Like, he needs to eat more and take this more seriously and realize that he can't do this at the weight he's currently sitting at. Like, I never heard him say that. And so for him to come and say that this summer and say that they've rectified it gives me optimism that things very well could look different this fall. I still reject the notion that this didn't get done prior to his sophomore year. There shouldn't be a lot of negotiation there. But I do understand that the player's got to take it upon himself to do it. And it sounds like, based on Brian Kelly's comments, that has happened. So we're going to have Harold Perkins conversations till we're blue in the face until he leaves, because there are so many different thoughts on how is best to use him. There are so many LSU fans that sit there and say, I've watched that dude be a tear off the edge, put him on the edge, let's go win football games. I hear that a lot. And then you've got coaches who realize that he's got to do some things differently so that he can be drafted where he should be drafted and help LSU win in the process. And that's the perfect marriage, where you can do things that improve your draft stock while helping LSU win football games. That's got to be where we are with Harold Perkins. Hopefully he has a monster season. Hopefully he puts himself into a position to be a very, very wealthy dude here next summer. And hopefully that is part of what spearheads a resurgence of this LSU defense that fell off a cliff last year. There aren't a ton of guys with All-American potential on LSU's defense. Perkins is one of them. Get him to the right weight and get him in the right place on the field and let him make some plays. That's what needs to happen for LSU. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.